welcome to Raven's Whispers across the nine realms. I'm your host, Mark Peterson, along with Christopher Allen, co host. And today with us, we have three special guests. We have with us Laniqua Bell, Haley Mitchell, and Garrett Warwick. Welcome, guys. How you all doing?
Doing good.
I'm doing pretty sorry. I'm doing pretty good, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Doing good myself. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing good. Yeah, doing good.
Doing good. Everyone asked how Mark was doing. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Nobody ever asks me.
So today we got a good panel of individuals with us. We're going to be talking about pride identity and being heard. And before we get started, I just want to go ahead and let them do a brief introduction of who they are. So start off with Anika.
Yes, so I am Lanika Bell, obviously. Any and all pronouns kind of identify as gender queer. So this kind of sticks dear because I have family members, friends, everything. So definitely into this topic today.
And what do you do in Troa?
I guess that would matter. I do HR, human resources. So if you're gonna volunteer, you're talking to me.
Haley.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Mitchell. I am non binary, they, them pronouns preferred, but I've started to become less picky. I am one of the social media managers for Troa. Um, as a non binary person, especially somebody who's not androgynous presenting, I've dealt with a lot of flack and stuff, so this topic's really important to me.
Garrett.
Hi, Gary here. I identify as uh, male and I go by he, him pronouns, but my wife is actually gender fluid and bisexual, and I have a lot of friends in the LGBTQ plus community as well. So this topic's very important to me just because I care about those around me and want to make sure that everybody is safe and healthy and yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for taking the time to have this conversation. This is our second podcast for this month. Knocked out the first one. Now we're knocking this one out. We're doing this because it is a special month. It is Pride Month, and you know, we at Troa, very much support the LGBT plus community. As an organization, are very vocal and very apparent about mental health. It doesn't matter what area or you're in, whether you're LGBTQ plus, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a gamer. It does not matter who you are, first responder, vice versa. The organization walks the walk when we do our talks. And one of the biggest things that our organization has seen in these past 6 months is influx of different individuals coming into the organization. We are very much happy everybody that we come in contact with, whether it be crisis management, whether it be a peer support, anything of that and these natures. This organization is just growing and blossoming, and our podcast is really helping us shape that conversation. And we get really gritty, we get really deep, and we talk about the problems, we talk about the issues, we talk about things that are going on in the real world, especially with pride. One of the big things that I have seen, and I know Chris has seen over these past couple of years, is a lot of the policies and a lot of the um, the governmental aspects that are going on right now. I use an example just off the bat. Um, my wife works at the VA. She got this Pride big um, keychain, and she's not allowed to wear it. But 2 years ago, 3 years ago, she was able to wear it. Well, the government aspect is causing a lot of riffraff, I believe. And us as an organization, we make sure we take that stand with the LGBTQ plus community, with whomever we're working with, and make sure that they understand that we don't care who you are, we don't care where you come from. We are here to help. That's my opening. Chris, you got anything?
So yeah, so this is our second recording of this month. So
Josh.
because it is, well, no, we had the regular recording, and then this was a special event recording. And I think it's important to mention, as an ally, we don't speak for the LGBTQ community, but we definitely stand beside that community. TROA is all about creating safe spaces, especially when we're talking about mental health and suicide prevention. So if you're talking with somebody who's already vulnerable because they're having thoughts of suicide, you don't want to, discriminate against someone, because of their sexual orientation. That just doesn't make sense. If you feel like you are all about suicide prevention, you cannot have that mentality. In my opinion, you cannot have that mentality and exclude anybody from the conversation. So as an ally, we are all about creating that safe space.
Yeah. Kind of going into segment one, we're going to talk about the cost of hiding who you are. Kind of the talking points that we can, start to talk about is, living a double life, constant fear of being found out, code switching and changing behaviors to fit in, the emotional exhaustion of monitoring every word and action, internal conflict between who you are and what others expect you to. So I guess we can start off with a couple of these questions. What does hiding your identity to a person mentally? Right? What do you guys feel that it does mentally?
So I have had to in certain situations um, recently and then over the past couple of years, and I feel gross every time. Like it feels like I'm lying, and it does not. It doesn't feel good, and it has taken a toll, especially if I've had to do it even just a couple of weeks. It feels heavy and not in a good way.
So true. Just to kind of give some context, growing up in a Catholic family where, especially in the 90s, it was just fun during that time because that was when everything started to come out with the Catholic Church. But having to hide it during that time because of all the stigmas and the labels that people would put on it, it just kind of makes you, especially when you're younger, first you start to like shrink in. And then as you grow, sometimes you don't learn how to bud back out after that because you're so used to hiding. You're so used to being like, kind of like hiding in the rafters or behind the curtain versus actually letting yourself be out there and speaking up for things. So it can do a lot long term as well. That just affects you for a while.
Some good answers.
Apologies, but could you please repeat the question?
Yeah. What does hiding your identity to a person mentally?
Yeah, so I can't really speak for the LGBTQ plus community. because, like you said before, I am one of those who stand by it, but am not. I do not identify as. I think I'm saying this right. I don't identify as LGBTQ plus myself, but I've definitely learned a bit about what it means to hide your identity when it comes to like mental illnesses, and um, I have been told that there's some similarities there, um, especially when it comes down to like in my personal experience, because that's all I'm trying to speak from right now. Um, it's really draining to be somewhere around people and feel like you don't belong. And I can understand. I can try to understand my best how much how bad it must feel to um, be around all these people who see you as one thing, and then on the inside that you're something completely different. And because like for me, like with my like depression and some other things, it's always been really difficult to feel understood by others. Um, and so I guess that's just like one of the reasons why it's so important to me to support this community, because I understand what it might feel like to be misunderstood.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that statement. Um, some of my best people, some of my best friends are in the LGBT plus community, and um, there are a few that are still not that haven't really outed themselves in the sense and dared to tell their families. From example, I'm not saying that it's probably guess faith. Um, there's a lot of stigmatism when it comes to you are internally to or wanted externally, and I think that it kind of hits on the mental health aspect as well. Thinking about it, hypervigilant, depressed, feelings of are more susceptible your own thoughts um because you're isolating yourself because it's just that's how you feel um and sometimes there's that constant fear of being that somebody's going to out you or somebody because you're not ready, right? It is somebody's um own agenda to be able to say, hey, I'm ready to tell the world that I'm gay, bi, binary, whatever, right? But what I've noticed again over the past couple of years is people do it out of smite and out of hate to once they find out something about someone, go and they smear it on social media. They make these people feel very uncomfortable. Not these people, but people in general, right? And I think that that is where we see a very high suicide rate on I plus. Um, because at the end of the day, these people are, the people of the community are just trying to get get by with their day to days, and then you have people that are just bringing in hate, and that hate is causing a lot of trauma to those. But yeah,
Right. I actually, just to interrupt really quickly, went to the AFSP had the Pride Pathways um, webinar, and it was interesting how they were talking about the risk factors, right? Which is what you're bringing up. And even when like when you're hiding yourself, doesn't matter if it is. I know we are talking about pride and LGBTQ plus, but doesn't matter. Everybody at some point had to code switch or hide themselves for whatever reason. It becomes kind of like a form of self-bullying, right? Because you're kind of like telling yourself that you're not good enough how you are, and so that just is an environmental risk factor in and of itself. And then with the pride pathways, we were talking about how when the LGBTQIA plus community, they actually have to deal with about 7 to 8 factors, I believe it was. I wrote it down. 7 to 10 risk factors is what the average is for all of us. So it's interesting when how it just kind of, like you said, those factors where you're kind of beating yourself up. And then you even have other people when it comes to the discrimination, them harassing you and beating you up about it. It's just weird. I also think it's interesting that it doesn't even matter about whether or not you're outing yourself verbally. It could even be like how you're acting or how you present yourself and everything else like that. And how do you present yourself to where you're not, outing yourself or making yourself stand out in a crowd, but at the same time still trying to fit in, but at the same time still trying to be an individual. So yeah, there's a constant struggle with all of that can kind of affect the mental health.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely.
So, like, something I've recently had to deal with, I help moderate a couple of Discord servers, and I have had people come in civil, great, interacting nicely with other members, and then, it took a bit to get to the point where I'm open about the fact that I am trans. And then these people who were seemingly good people just start dropping slurs. Then I have to ban them because they are dropping slurs out of nowhere for no reason other than the fact that I don't identify as the gender I was assigned at birth, something that doesn't affect them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that happen to an individual, when they're going through a lot of the emotional exhaustion, and they're monitoring everything that someone's saying because it's fight or flight or flight, fight or flight, what it is. It's definitely a serious topic in the mental health community. I know America's Foundation for Suicide Prevention is really, really trying to partner um, with LGBT plus community, really start trying to find pathways of healing, find pathways of how can we help, right? And because that leads us into our next segment, which is talking about rejection, trauma, and isolation. Um, so I mean, for the everybody, why does rejection hurt so deep?
I know for me, in my case, I already struggle with abandonment trauma from my early childhood. And so being rejected by people hurts a lot. Like, it stings. It's like as if I was given the opportunity to finally like have people who would be there and support me and stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm right back to not having anybody, which is jarring, especially dealing with the fear of never having somebody who will care about me again, and the mess that comes with abandonment trauma. Plus there's just this rejection sensitivity. I'm already by default paranoid that people are suddenly not going to want to be around me anymore. And so it's just reinforces that, which, the self worth starts to go down and all that other fun stuff.
I think that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Garrett.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Um, I definitely relate to dealing with abandonment from an early age. Um, for me, it was the loss of a close loved one, and ever since then, I don't know. Uh, oh man, grief is just so hard, right? And it never goes away. And so, like the connection to rejection, there, I feel like is it makes it really hard to feel like when I get rejected by somebody for something tiny or something big, it really doesn't matter. But like, I have to remind myself personally that I'm still worth something, that I'm not being walked away from because I am not worth anything, right? And it took so long to figure that out. It took um, years of dealing with my own personal issues relating to like my depression and stuff. And I feel like I'm in such a better place now, but I still have trouble with rejection. It's just like that stuff that gets carved into your brain early on is so hard to heal from, or to rewire those parts of your brains. And um, so yeah.
right? Because it's not only your brain, right? It's also like your heart too. Because it's you kind of open yourself, you put yourself out there, and then someone says no, and it's like it just kind of broke my heart. Um, and it affects, like you said with Garrett, it affects everything. It can be rejection even when you from a job interview or rejection from, promotion. All of that still kind of hurts because you tried and you put yourself out there to get it. Um, it's weird for me personally. I've always had a weird relationship with rejection, just because my mind works a little differently. So uh, we have the funny story of when my parents were separating at the time. Everybody in the house was crying because my dad was basically rejecting us. But I was just sitting there like, I don't get it. Then I didn't start crying until everybody else like told me I had to start crying. And so that was one of those things, like, so I guess when you get rejected you have to be sad, but I still never got the idea, like, why do you have to be sad if you get rejected? That's on them. And I appreciate the fact that my mom kind of helped instill that in my head, that rejection is really on the other person, it's not on you. They're the ones losing out on whatever it is. So, but it's still gonna hurt. You just have to try to look past that and look past that hurt that first time, that stabbing pain.
I know for
Do you mind if
me.
I?
Go ahead.
Are you sure? Go ahead, Mark. I'll comment afterwards.
Oh, you can go. It's good.
Okay. I like what you were just talking about. Lanicha, is that correct? Okay. Close. Okay. Um, so sorry. What were you just talking about? Made me think about. I don't remember the exact words you said that made me think about this because I'm very. No matter how hard I tried to listen, it's so difficult sometimes. But um, it's rejection does, for me at least, isn't always just being told no or someone walking away from me. It's also the absence of positive reinforcement in situations where I put in tons of effort, um, especially in like careers, like in employment, um, even like especially when I'm putting in all this effort to do the job, fulfill the expectations, do everything in the description and more, and try to learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. And then, well, I mean, there's a number of things that could fit the bill here, but like getting laid off, or even though I know technically it's not supposed to be my fault, it's so hard not to think, oh, what could I have done better?
Yeah, those are all really, really good points. I think rejection hurts so deeply because, you know, like Nika was saying, she didn't start crying until people told her to cry, right? You know, I didn't really start to really feel rejected until my birth parents' parental rights were rejected. And then I was thrown through the system like uh, a monkey. The source of all of our differences and all of our pains and all of our heartaches and our hardships and everything that we go through is always based upon some type of rejection that has happened in and you know childhood experiences do shape your self-worth, right? 9 times out of 10, not proven, but it is definitely something to think about. If 9 times out of 10, if you grow up in a family that parents you have good family, you have good parents, you have good, there's communication, there's all these things, right? And it's a loving family. It's still a loving family no matter what, right? But at the end of the day, that's not how it is here in America, right? It's not like it is where you hear about, oh my gosh, this is a great family. Most of the families in America are broken. And it is proven, that is a proven study, that is a proven fact. There is a very small portion, very small, that I believe it's not even like 10% that are the perfect little family, right? And I think you're dealing with yourself and your shape your self-worth, you're going to have a hard time no matter what, because life doesn't just throw you roses and petals and rainbows and everything. It throws freaking bricks, it throws freaking nails, it throws anything and everything at you. Okay. And the fact that all five of us probably have a very good story, right? My story is on our season 1 podcast, and I've also talked a little bit about it. But everybody has a story, and that is why you always need to be nice to somebody. Always need to try to show that you're being nice to somebody. And if they're coming up to you and saying, "Hey, can I have a dollar?" Can't have my dollar right now. I'm sorry. I can't help you. But I'm saying you just need to be a decent human being in today's society, because everybody feels that they are entitled to something, and technically nobody's entitled to anything at this point in time. Work for what you work for, get what you do, give 100%, you give back 100. Um, Before I move on to the next section, Chris, do you have anything you want to say?
Not about this, but I do have a comment after this segment ends.
So we're going to go into identity and self-worth. Um, what messages do we feel that the LGBTQ plus youth receive about themselves?
Um, Bad enough messages, I have hard time saying it out loud.
It's a variety, right? It just depends on, some do come from that loving environment where they do get those good messages and they're able to make it. Some may live in a place like Florida, so where they can't even get it in school. So yeah, it just depends. But I know, especially in the South, especially rural South, it's just, the message is no, just plain no. You are not, or if you are, then no. You can change. It's a choice, which that is always the funniest one. Um, so yeah, they're just getting the wrong messaging, which is why it's so important for things like this podcast and this episode, and for others to speak up and be those allies for them.
Yeah, like especially in like today's society. there are a lot more places where it is, you know, a kid's like, hey, you know, I think I like boys. And their mom's like, no, no, you don't. You are not gay. Or like, they'll be like, hey, you know, I think I might be a girl. And it's the same, like, no, you have been brainwashed. You don't know what you're talking about. And sometimes that escalates to abuse and things that violate the law. Um, like there's a organization that has started this process of putting together houses with big houses with lots of rooms for 12, 13, 14-year-old children, little kids whose parents have kicked them out onto the streets because they caught them holding hands with another kid of the same sex, or they caught their son trying on their heels. And so like there's a lot of mixed messages out there, especially with how heinous and harsh the negative ones are.
And then you even have like the subliminal ones, right? Like we rarely see two men or two women kissing on TV or having a relationship or anything like that. It's heteronormative culture is pushed on everybody, and not saying that that's a bad thing. As far as heteronormative culture, it being pushed on everyone is a bad thing, and so making it more common to see things. I watched the Disney movie Strange Worlds, where they actually did have the kid in there is actually gay, and he was going after a dude, and it was really awesome to see that in a Disney movie. Like, yay! So I think like Kaylee was saying, we're making some strides, yes, but there are still those steps backwards where you were saying in the very beginning, as far as like the policy goes and all the government things going on, where kids can't even get gender affirming care right now. And those who were got really, really messed up medically when it got just dropped on them. So it mixed messaging, and it's just really we gotta be the ones who are trying to change it to a more positive side.
So, how do people rebuild self esteem after years of rejection?
Therapy. Lots and lots of therapy. I have been a decade, and I am still working on it because it's not something that happens overnight, especially if you have frequent setbacks. Um, and then there's the fact that there's this push for just look yourself in the mirror and say nice things. And it can hurt when that doesn't work because then it just pushes you back because you know they say it's so easy. I just look myself in the mirror and say that I'm worth kindness, but I can't do it. And so that's why I'm a massive advocate for therapy, because that's whether it is your own self-help books, talk therapy, group therapy, whatever therapeutic methods are work for you, lots and lots of that, which part of that comes with destigmatizing mental health and destigmatizing what it means to be queer.
Yeah, I appreciate how you brought up like therapy can be anything, because coming from, I mean, African American, our culture historically has been that's what I'm looking for, described, and the stigma put on them that we don't do therapy, right? And so we're not supposed to. And if you do therapy, then you like lost your card and all this other type of drive. But that therapy can be anything. A lot of people find therapy in music. A lot of people find therapy in pets. A lot of people find therapy talking to your friends and just having someone there to talk to.
I'm I love how you guys started with therapy and how therapy can be anything for anybody, because that I feel like that leads perfectly into my favorite thing to talk to people about when they're down in the dumps, and that's it sounds, well, how I don't want to say it sounds. It's very cliche at first glance, but I feel like it has a lot of really good meaning behind it. But I've always been successful with myself with faking it till I make it, and faking it till you make it, in my opinion, doesn't immediately sound like the best, or the definitely not the easiest thing to do. But when my brain is telling me, um, when my brain is telling me these things like you're not this or you're that, and I'm just down in the dumps, like deep, deep down in the dumps, I know that from experience that waiting around for feeling better never works, at least not for me. And um, finding out, and I'm sure that this changes throughout people's lifetimes, but finding out what works for you, like therapy, um, whether that be uh, seeing a professional, which I think a lot of people should do, or this personal opinion, sorry, or like taking photos of nature, or playing video games like Minecraft and Space Engineers, or um, my two favorites, if you can't tell, or uh, like just talking to other people sometimes. Um, when my brain tells me you don't want to do this right now because it doesn't feel good right now, I know that I need to force myself to do it anyways, because it does create a positive impact on me and my mind. And if I force myself to do it, it's better than just laying in bed and sleeping the day away. Um, yeah, I hope you understand.
Yeah, sometimes you have to trick yourself, right, to be happy again, in a way. Because when you're doing something that makes you happy, how can you still be upset? Like that's the whole point of it. Why you're doing it, it makes you happy. So definitely understand what you're going for there, Garrett.
Yeah, exactly. And like, even if you're still upset while you're doing it, as long as you continue doing things don't have a that don't typically have a negative impact on you, you're you're going to I feel like it's kind of like sleeping on the bad feelings without actually sleeping. Like how people say, I'm going to sleep on it and then think about it tomorrow. It's like sleeping on the bad feelings, where I go play some video games, or I go and take some photos, or I go and I just hang out with my now wife, which is still crazy to say, by the way. Um, but like, and then I can come back to those bad feelings with them having less power in my current day and in my current life, because it just takes the power away from them, because I'm giving my power to other things.
I do want to acknowledge, though, and I'm sorry if I'm kind of speaking a lot, but I do want to acknowledge, like, sometimes it is hard to take it till you make it, as Kaylee was saying. Sometimes it is hard to even if you are doing your happy thing, to eventually end up being happy, because and that's when you do need to seek other ways, right? You may need to actually seek that professional help at that time. You may need to actually go out and reach out to your friend at that time. So, like I said, don't sleep on it, don't hold on to it or sit on it, but try something and keep trying something.
Honestly, I'm a big fan of unconventional therapeutic methods. Whether that is the fake it till you make it, if forcing yourself to be positive is what works for you, whether that is, I'm big into art therapy myself. And then I like going out into the woods when I can and just screaming, whether it is an angry roar, whether it is a wail, just getting it out, because sometimes you don't have words. And then you leave it in the woods and let nature take it from you.
my mom lives by the ocean. Sometimes screaming at the ocean is similarly therapeutic.
What about you, Chris?
I mean, we talked about, therapy. There are things that drain you and there's things that rejuvenate you, right? And so if you're an introvert, it could be draining being in a crowd and socializing. But if you're an extrovert, maybe that's what recharges you, being around people. Um, I'm a little bit of both. I am an extrovert by nature, but there does come a point where, I do have to take a step back and just, find a quiet space and recharge. But, you know, any hobby, any activity you like to do, that's the nice thing about the internet. Whatever you like to do, there are other people out there that like to do it as well. So I don't care if it's basket weaving or fishing or hiking, running, biking, whatever you like to do, there are like-minded folks out there. Um, and so, when folks, ask that question, well, what kind of therapy works? I turn it back around. I was like, what do you like to do? I don't care how crazy or how mundane it might seem, what actually recharges your battery, because what recharges your battery might not be what recharges mine, and what I do to recharge is not what's going to help you. So it's there's hundreds of millions of people in our country, billions of people worldwide. That's how many different types of therapy there are, right? You have to tailor it to yourself, in my opinion.
Well said. It was really, really good uh, segment. For me, uh, Troa is both, great, but it's also draining at the same time. Um, so I truly understand, uh, but I'm a workaholic, so for me, it doesn't really bother me. But one of the things that I'm really good at, um, I could tell when somebody is getting to a point where getting a they're getting tired, or starting to feel the um like they're feeling overburdened in a sense. I digress, but yeah. So um I think if that's all we have for that segment, we'll go ahead and move on to segment 4, which is titled "Finding a Safe Space." And I'm gonna let Christopher do this one because I know he wants to ask me a lot of questions.
Sure. So, you talk about, a safe space. What does that look like? So I will turn it back to Mark just real quick, and to Kaylee, because this is what we talked about not too long ago. What does our safe space look like at Troa, and how does it differ from other spaces out there in the world, like in Discord and others?
Want to go first, Kaylee, or do you want?
I'll go. So this is actually the biggest thing that I love about Troa is the fact that I can pop in when I need to and want to. I can pop in, I can say hi, I can have small talk, big talk, whatever. And everybody treats me like family, whether it's somebody I talk to frequently and they know me by everything, whether it's somebody, this is our first time talking. Troa is a family and we are welcoming of literally everybody. Meanwhile, I have been in other servers that claim to be welcoming spaces, and there's toxicity, there's favoritism, there's discrimination, there's some of them get cliquish, which is annoying. Like, we are adults, we are not high schoolers. And it's like, it's one thing to have your friend group, but it's another when you start excluding people. and you don't talk to them. And like even if you call yourself a safe space, that's not, you know? Um and that's Troa is a whole other realm of safe space that
So if oh,
yeah.
so if you would have asked me back in 2017 when I had created Troa, you think that be like a mental health community? Are you doing like these podcasts? I would have said no. I Everything that has happened in Troa is due to all of the foundation layer work that I've done over for the organization before it was an organization. One of the biggest things was just creating the safe space. I got tired of going into Discords, game developer Discords. I'm talking like Keen Software House. I worked there for 4 years as a moderator, so I understand what the toxicity level is over there. But like Star Citizen, Diablo, all these different games of Minecraft, and I kept getting I got tired of going into a Discord server that was supposed to be a safe space, and we get called like, "Why the fuck you in this room? You're not part of our community. Like, who the fuck are you?" Like all these kinds of things, and um. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. So I created the Realms of Asgard Discord, and it was based upon Norse mythology. That is where our first SD server was hosted back in December of 2016 is when I started hosting our actual SC server. Over the years, as Space Engineers has been an amazing game, it has also been a very frustrating game to host. Um, we at once had 16 servers through a Nexus connection, which is an interconnected world. Had one of the largest Space Engineer servers, but since then don't really care. But I digress. The whole reason of the safe space is allow people to come in and use a new player, a new person that we got. His name's Darth Vader. He's British. He's from the UK. He just joined the server today, and he was sitting in the voice room by himself, and I popped in and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And just like, "Hey, I didn't think there was anybody here." I'm like, "Nope, we're here. We're just we lurk. We're pretty big." And he was asking me what Troa was, and I told him, and he said, "Holy crap!" He's like, "I would have never guessed that you guys are a mental health organization helping people." Like, like, I love the Discord. I love the server. I love everything that you guys are doing. So, to me, the Discord is our brand. Um, and we will always protect that brand, and we will always protect the individuals that are in the Discord. We have a good moderation team, which they're pretty good at finding people that are starting habit, because you're going to have those people that come into the Discord that just start shit. That's just what happens. But that shit won't last that long because they're going to be gone by the time they started anything. And you know, um, I rather time out somebody than ban them. The words of Austin Overbrocken, former VP of the organization, that was one of the things that he ingrained in me. Let's not ban them. Let's just time them out, because then it'll tick them off more. But then they're still able to see what's going on, and they can't reply or they can't answer, but they still also have access to our resources. That we have a resource channel. So um, it's huge, huge question. Finding a safe space. That's just our online portion right now. We're about to build a mental health portal. Where we've got all kinds of things that we're developing right now as an organization. Um, and one of the biggest things that we have in our Discord that nobody else has yet, but will be happening, is our safe room. is you know uh, that is a huge reason why we also have peer support. It's going to be getting a facelift, but it is the first contact room. Go in there, going through some crisis, you're going through something. We're going to be able to help you. We're going to be able to take care of you. And that goes for anybody, the diversity, within the LGBTQ plus community. It doesn't matter. It's everybody. It's not just player gamers. It's gamers, as they would say. It is everybody. I don't care if you're black, white, Latino, Hispanic, Asian. I don't care who you are. You are always going to be welcome to this organization. And if you don't speak our language, guess what? There's all kinds of translation programs where we can actually put into a translator and translate with people. I did that with a German player that still plays in our server to this day. All that it takes is a little bit of humility to help humanity. All right, so we'll go ahead and go into um, segment 5, which is breaking stereotypes. So that's huge. That's just like breaking the stigma. That's just like, there's common misconceptions about LGBTQ plus individuals, why stereotypes are harmful, diversity in the within the LGBTQ community. I know some very smart individuals, and everyone's experience is different. So Kaylee's experience, uh, everybody, it doesn't matter. I've gone to a gay bar before. I mean, who hasn't? I mean, it's interesting. You know, um, there's no reason to be afraid of doing that stuff. That's what I've always thought. Like, go to drag shows, go to gay bars, whatever. Who cares? It's just doing another activity, but it's just within a different, as people would say, it's in a different realm in a sense. You're like, why are you doing? It's none of your business why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I enjoy, or I enjoy, being happy. But what stereotypes have caused the most damage? Do you guys feel?
Um, the biggest one for me is that if you're androgynous, you're non-binary, and you can't be non-binary if you're not androgynous. That one irks me so much as somebody who is non-binary and still femme presents. Because like I'm not going to bind. I can't wear my binder anymore. I have too many health issues, and like feminine clothing is still cute. I still like the aesthetic that comes with feminine clothing. I don't owe anybody androgyny. And then there's just a lot of especially when it comes to trans women, the stereotype that trans women, she's just doing it to be kinky and sexual in public and seduce men, when it's like, no, she's not wearing that skirt for you. That one is also really harmful because that leads to criminal activity and predatory behavior. That is one of the biggest reasons why I am actually against forcing trans women to use the men's restroom, because of how harmful and like life threatening that stereotype is. Um, then there's the one that lesbians are only with women because they haven't found the right guy. Yeah. I have lesbian friends. I have physically witnessed a man come up to her and be like, "Oh, why are you with your girlfriend?" And she's like, "Because I am attracted to women." And he's like, "Well, I bet I could change your mind," and got explicit. And I'm like, do you and I need to have a conversation? And a lot of the stereotypes and stuff that I see uh, towards the queer community of very sex focused and adult content focused, when it's like, no,
Like a lot of people equate, like you were saying, transgender women with sex workers, and all of a sudden it's all about, the gay man is looking at another guy, then oh my gosh, you're attracted to me and you're thinking about me sexually and addressing me with your eyes. I was like, no, you have a booger in your nose. That's the only reason I was looking. So people just automatically assume because you are different, that I don't know why, maybe because we are a Puritan society that came over on the Mayflower and everything, that we immediately go to sex with it of, oh, this is sexual. You only want to go into the men's room because, sex. Or you only want to go into the women's room because you want to spy on women and harass them. Like, they could care less about you. At most, you want them in there to give you makeup tips or to help you with whatever, if they are that type of transsexual. So it's just one of those things where, and I'm gonna age myself. Well, I already did. I grew up in the 80s, 90s. Yeah, well, grew up in the 80s, 90s, and Chris, I'm sure you know as well. 70s too. Just what you saw on TV, what was like shoved down your throat as you were growing up. Faggot wasn't a bad word growing up. It was you called someone that word as. And I say it wasn't a bad word in terms of it wasn't considered a slur as much as it was just considered a I'm teasing you type thing. And you look at like movies like But I'm a Cheerleader, where they're doing conversion therapy and everything else like that in there, especially during, oh my gosh, early on, before doctors even realized what was going on, and Freud and all that jazz, the stuff they were doing to the community. So it's just those stereotypes of, yeah, it's always about sex, and no matter what, society for some reason just cannot let that go. We continue to push that agenda out.
So I guess, definitely there's a lot of stereotypes, but types how people every single that why is that dangerous to us?
It minimizes a lot. And it just can't think of the right word right now, but it's just the way it blankets everything. It cuts out a lot of the nuance and the detail, and it reduces, and I don't think whitewash is the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say in that regard. It just takes everything out, and then like makes it really hard to move forward. It's almost a detachment from the humanity behind it.
I think it's
Yeah, I mean,
dangerous. And
I don't know, might be saying the same thing. You're just dangerous for assume anybody's story, whether it's LGBTQ plus or not. As far as whether or not everyone's story is the same, because you are taking away that person's individuality. You're taking away that person's personality, like themselves. And so that's just like when you sit there and discriminate and or reject them for who they are. If you sit there and just say, well, their story is like somebody else, that's pretty much the same thing and almost as bad as rejecting that person for who they are, because you're just assuming their story is like everybody else's.
yeah, it's kind of what I was say there. I feel that dangerous amount of people aren't educated. Um, I think after really ones that pull a knife on you, that will gun on you, don't understand what the LGBT how they've and I think territory educated not with just in the ah, LGBTQ plus community, but I think everywhere. Shouldn't have to fear if you're going to go on to your trans woman subway. I want to jump you. There are many avenues where stereotypes are causing a lot of harm, and I think the government needs better and better. Um, but I know that this organization that we have, our organization, definitely helping as much as we stop stereotypes, stop and to stop any type of behaviors that we can educate ourselves.
Yeah, and like that's the education, it's what's really important. I have seen education change like violent levels of transphobic and homophobic people to people who would be like front lines at allies because they learn. I have read stories of mothers who are against their children being trans, and then a trans adult has a sit down conversation and lays out what she's at risk. And I see you're trying to protect your kid from everything, but here's what you're actually doing and here's what could happen. And education is so important, and that's how we're going to change things is education.
Education and exposure, right? Because people fear what they don't know, and usually when they turn violent. That's why I can't watch movies like Avatar and things like that. It hurts me to see humanity work like that. But one of the things I think is important is that exposure. Just like you were saying, Mark, as far as just go to the drag shows, expose yourself to it, talk to a drag queen. You'll be surprised. Like, they're human. Oh my gosh. So you would be
Some
like,
of them are
do
pretty
that.
funny.
Oh, hilarious. Oh my gosh. Bob the drag queen is hilarious. But they when you expose yourself to that, and then also, and not saying put yourself in dangerous situations, but help expose other people to it as well. Be in with allies and go some places so that you can expose people to, oh, they are human. They are just like me. But again, please do not do it if it's dangerous. I just want to make sure I say that because I don't want to advocate that at all.
Definitely go with somebody, if you know that maybe go with somebody from the LGBT plus community that understands the area. Because what I also know, like I live in Indianapolis, or I live in Indiana near Indianapolis. We got a lot of gay bars and we got a lot of LGBTQ plus community in the area. One of the things that I feel that a lot of people that live near or live in central Indiana understand is that the LGBTQ plus community is not a threat. And I think that that is different in a lot of other states in the United States. It's just basic education, understanding your surroundings, understand your area, understand the why, right? Why does that man look like a woman? Why is that man dressing up and then doing this like show? Like, why? Go and see it. Go and see the fun that this individual is having. Go and see the what is going on. Go and see the other heterosexuals that are there that are watching the show, because it's literally just a show. It's kind of like going to a concert, right? oh my god, I'm going to go see my favorite, instead of musician, I'm going to go see my favorite drag queen, or vice versa. And then also, get rid of the stigma. Uh, if somebody tells you, "Oh, that's gay," or no, dude, you should go try it, right? Like, go try it. It's you. You want to go with me? I'll take you. We can go next Saturday. Yep, let's go. We'll go downtown and we'll go to the show. But hey, you want to go to the gay bar? What? What? What are you talking about? Yeah, yeah, you go to the gay bar. You'll probably get hit on, but whatever. It's who cares? You know,
Yeah,
um,
just tell them that you're straight, and then they won't bother you no more.
exactly. That is exactly
They don't
what
have to watch.
happens. That is exactly what happens. And one of the things that I have heard that really drives me crazy is Disney World, right? Disney World has the Pride Parade, right? They have their stuff that they do. So many times I've heard people say that they get hit on. And I'm like, well, what did you say? Did you say I'm straight, or did you just like keep talking to the individual and start keep kept the conversation going? No, I said I'm straight. Okay, what happened? Nothing. They did. Okay, then why are you so offended? Those kinds. You shouldn't be offended if you're being hit on. I'm just saying. But that's just another topic for another
Right? It's
day.
a compliment.
Chris, do you have anything for this segment?
No, I mean, like you said, if we're gonna say that we are for mental health, if we don't want people to die by suicide, then we have to, as a culture, as a community, stop finding ways to exclude each other and find ways to come together and connect with each other.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Garrett.
Can I share a couple of um while y'all were talking and I was thinking about a few things that are not quite on track exactly what you ended with, but the latest thing I was thinking was I did some research just now into how where I live compares to similarly populated areas when it comes down to um, like the acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community um, and like stuff related to that. And one of my very few friends that I have is actually like the drag queen of Tacoma, which is so cool to brag about. But like they're an awesome human being, and I think I met them when they were doing a birthday party, and ever since then they've even offered to house me at certain points, which is so cool. Like I feel like a lot of people, and I live in a more rural feeling area than Tacoma. I think it's like, I mean, it's real close to Tacoma, but like it feels rural and it's full of, well, I don't want to, I'm not going to use stereotypes here, but it's a very different crowd than like Tacoma and Seattle, and even Olympia, and because I've lived all up and down Western Washington State, and it's crazy how much the culture will differ just by driving 15 minutes away. Um, and yeah, I think it's largely an educational thing, but it's also like an open-mindedness thing. Like we were talking about how assuming everyone's story is the same is so dangerous, and I was thinking about how people can just fall through the cracks if you assume if you're only like focusing on this stereotype, you're gonna have all these other people that are just gonna not get noticed. And I think I lost my train of thought, but um, it's so important. I'll just end with this. It's so important to be open to new ideas. And I think that it should apply for, or does apply to, every human being on the planet. Because if you're not open to new ideas, how are you going to grow as a human being yourself? Even if you don't agree with the new ideas that you learn about, like, you're never going to grow if you're stuck in your ways.
Well said. Very well said. All right. Got two more segments and then we do our closings. We're almost there. Um, they should be pretty quick. So, talking about the, breaking the stereotypes. Now let's go into segment 6, which talks about allyship done right. So, what makes a good ally?
So, one of the points is something we've kind of already touched on. It's not speaking for or speaking over the LGBTQ plus community. You can kind of help project the our voices, repeating things we have said, but not speaking for us is one of the biggest things that allies, it's a mistake that they make trying to be helpful. It comes from a place of nothing but support, love, and care. But it silences us and makes it harder for us to be heard, and the important bits that we excuse me, I'm sorry, the important bits that we're trying to share and need to share. So that's something to be a little bit more cognizant about. Am I repeating something I've been told to help amplify a voice, or am I speaking over something?
Yeah, I think um, all of that. I mean, even going back to what Garrett has says about being open-minded, is just really being open-minded to everything. Because um, in order to be a good ally, you need to be open to what you are going to be exposed to, what could happen. Um, I said, don't speak for people, because you will likely be in a situation where you have witnessed some type of harassment or discrimination against your friend. And it is going to be one of those like, I want to fight for you, but let us fight for ourselves. Um, the I think the other big thing is just letting people know. Like, you don't have to scream, "I love LGBTQ plus," but at the same time, you have to just be there. Go to the events. When you see someone who's being ostracized, and it obviously looks like it's because of who they are or their orientation. Honestly, if you see anyone being ostracized, you should try to help them out anyway, and speak to them and see what's going on, and just like listen, just listen to them.
I like what you just said about like not speaking over people and not trying to save people. It made me think about how I've always had this like personality where I'm kind of like, I don't know. People tell me I'm kind of like or let me rephrase that. I've been told multiple times in my life, more so than other things, that I'm kind of like a rock to some people. And I've also noticed that, especially with some of my really close relationships, that I tend to really easily go for, when I'm like with somebody and I know they're very introverted and maybe they don't like talking to strangers, and like not even giving them the opportunity to try. Um, I feel like I've gotten a little better about it, but that's not really what this is about. Like I think what's important here is that, like, you're right. It's really important to let people own themselves and their words, and have those words, even if it takes them time to get them out, right? Like, it's so important to be able to speak for yourself, and in so many different situations, not just in defense of yourself, but just like in sharing your own ideas and growing as a person to be able to do that more. And I have a really hard time with that sometimes, with like not just jumping ahead of somebody in a metaphorically and taking over because I feel like that's what they would want, instead of, but I but like in retrospect it always seems more like maybe I should have asked them in private first, like, how do you want to proceed in this situation, or do you want help, like I like the word help is just, I've always been the kind of person where I'm just like, yeah, I want to help you. 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 And then I don't realize that I might be getting a bunch of people who appreciate me, but I'm getting a few people who really don't. And it's so important to recognize that those few people are just as important as the rest. And something like that.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're fighting for someone, just being that silent person next to them, even when they're still being silent, because sometimes I know for me, I'm introverted as well. If someone said something, I usually don't say anything back because I ignore them or whichever. But having an ally there who isn't going to fight for me, because that's not what I need. I just need you to be there and strong with me too. So that way I don't feel as if, one, I had to respond, or two, like I was isolated in that incident, because that's their problem. I have my friend and my ally right here. I don't care what they said.
A great example that this makes me think about is my mom and I have been growing together over the years, right? As human beings should. And one of the things we've been trying really hard to do in the past few years or so is when we call each other, we want to, and we have like something to talk about. Like one of us calls the other, and that one person has something very important they want to speak about. The other person needs to ask, okay, now that I've heard that, what do you want from me? It's very important to ask and be like, what do you need from me? What do you want from me? And how can I help you right now? Not just jump into, oh, well, this is the solution to your problem. Or, oh, I totally agree. Those rambunctious fellas, or something like that.
Truth. Such truth, Garrett. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Everything you guys said is totally what you needed. This question, this one, this is, how can people support friends and family who come out?
Part of it is normalizing it. Like, don't, oh, this is Tommy, he's my gay brother. Or, hey, this is Susie, she was born as my brother. Like, it is the normalization. Oh, Tommy likes dudes. Okay, cool. It's no different than, my sister liking dudes. Or, oh, my uncle is now my aunt. Okay, I have an aunt now. It's there's not the I have an aunt who was an uncle. You have an aunt now. And that normalization is going to be that is probably one of the biggest things you can do. That normalization, one, they don't feel like some circus attraction. Two, you are a safe space. Because like you're not going to call them a slur, or you're not going to be like ew or whatever, you know? And then it's just that is going to be the biggest, most important thing you can do.
Yes, so very true. I have my nephew came out in high school as non-binary, and it was interesting because no one in my family actually knew. My dad actually found out last month again that, oh wait, I'm supposed to say they. It's like, yes, they are this, they. Who's they? Your grandchild, not your grandson, your grandchild, your son's oldest, not your son's oldest son. And so trying to normalize that with them, especially him being, as people would say, quote unquote, a boomer, or just from the older generation, um, where it wasn't normal to have a non-binary wasn't even in the vocabulary at that time. Um, Saying they and continuously, saying ad nephew, and they'll say unctie to me when we're out in public, and even they to me when I'm out in public, to help me remember sometimes that I go by other pronouns, because sometimes I forget as well. And so it's just that anybody normalizing it for friends and family or anyone you see, and like you said, don't make it a thing, a flag that they have to wear. You aren't formally known as. Just this is your name now. So no one's Prince unless you're getting Prince money.
Yeah, and like my partner is one of the biggest examples in my life. He knew me before I realized anything, except I think maybe that I knew I also liked girls. Um, but like I knew nothing else about myself. We were 14-ish, 13, 14. And then we lost contact for a while. And then we got back into contact, and I'm like, hey, I'm non-binary and I use these pronouns. And he uses the pronouns. He calls me by my preferred name. It is so normal to him. And that makes me feel really nice, especially because I don't get that a lot from family members, even my own family. Like my grandmother does her absolute best, and I know my parents do when they're reminded, but it doesn't stick, which is saddening. They're trying, but it's still saddening.
One more thing, I will say, uh, it's hard, right? Because for 20 something years, they were he, she, whichever. And so especially when trying to get over that. But when you do find yourself making the mistake of saying he, oh, I'm so sorry, I meant they, don't make a big thing out of that either. That is also not normalizing it. That is basically still saying, no, you were something else, and now I messed up and I need to call you this. Just change it. Say he, oh, they, she, they, or when you're calling them out, let them know, this person. So that way, the other people that you're talking to, they get used to saying it as well, because that's what they hear. And so they just associate it with that.
One of my favorite, oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
One of my favorite things to see this online is, somebody will type something out and they will use the wrong pronoun, and either I or somebody else will just use the little asterisk that's used when people are correcting something. And then the pronouns are put there and they'll be like, oops, sorry. And if they can, they'll go back and edit their message with the proper pronouns. And then that's the end of it, which is appreciated, because then, like, it's much appreciated.
All right, so we're going to move into segment 7. These are all great conversations, guys. We're at an I'm going to talk a lot on this one because I have a lot to say. Pride Month Beyond the Rainbow is segment 7. And the only question that we have for this one is, how has Pride evolved over the years? I'm going to tell you how it has from my point of view. So, when I was probably 13, 12, I don't remember how old, you know, um, I didn't really understand gay and lesbian and or the LGBTQ community plus community at that time, right? It wasn't a thing that you would see on the TV earlier. Usually you saw men and women kissing, hugging, making out, or whatever on the TV shows. I turned 18 years old. That all changed. There were a lot of shows that were coming out. There was a movie called Brokeback Mountain. Anybody remembers that one? There were a lot of actors and actresses that were coming out in the Hollywood side. And then stigmatism happened. Stigmatism happened huge with the administration at the time, and you saw a lot of that go away for a little bit, and then it came back, and then it went away, and it came back, went away. So I think one of the things that America needs to do as a country, telling this to all of our listeners, we need to normalize pride, identity, and the LGBTQ plus community. Because if we don't, every few years, and I say this with a couple, of our LGBTQ plus community members in here, every few years we're gonna go through the same shit over and over and over again. Don't ask, don't tell in the military, right? How many years was that? I don't even remember. And they got rid of it. And then they fired everybody, right? They told everybody they needed to leave or something like that. I can't was that what
They
happened,
sure
Chris?
did.
I don't know if Chris they asked all of they had to did they resign? I don't remember what happened. They asked him to resign or they asked him to leave.
They just told everybody, don't ask, don't tell.
Well, I mean now.
No, back then.
Well, yeah,
That was
yeah.
their
And
policy.
then the now. Didn't they just have like a huge public thing about the gay and lesbians in the military?
So now, I mean, so it's kind of in between right now. So they were trying to exclude LGBTQ in the military.
Yeah. And did that ever get passed by Congress or is it not gotten passed?
It's not a Congress thing; it's a DoD thing.
I'm
So
sorry, DOD. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, so like every few years we're gonna continuously see this cycle of I call it crazy because doing the same thing over and over, repeating the same thing and over is crazy. Um, and one of the other things that is also needs to change too is the businesses. I work for a company that is very LGBTQ plus friendly. And I know that a couple other companies that I've worked for would fire people because of what they believed in or what they did. Even though it would be against the law, they wouldn't care. They would find a way to get rid of those individuals. And I think that that is wrong. And I know our listeners, at the end of the day, are listening to our mental health podcast. It's kind of a little bit different. This is we're focusing on the LGBTQ plus community and how we as an organization can help them. So one of the things that I know TROA is going to do is we are going to offer trainings. We're going to offer different types of um, relief if we can for individuals that are going through a really really tough time. As the organization grows, so do our funds. As we get in grants and as all that stuff happens, TROA will also, and I'll say this on podcast. I believe it 100%, and pretty sure Chris is going to back me. TROA will, no matter what, we will publicly be always helping the LGBTQ plus community till the end of TROA. Um, I'm never going to change my mind. Nobody can change my mind. Even I can't change my own mind. Even if I did change my mind, I would have to have at least 8 votes to change my mind, which that'll never happen. So, my thing with Pride and Beyond is it just needs to be leave it alone. Stop messing with it. Stop putting in these stupid policies. Stop changing things. Stop telling trans people that they can't do certain things. Stop telling gay and lesbians that they can't be married. Stop telling individuals that they can't do stuff, that love is love, right? It doesn't matter. Stop telling people what they don't want to hear and start telling people what they need to hear, which is love is love. Stop messing with people's lives and stop making things harder. Because at the end of the day, it's just going to keep being a tenuous circle. That is my saying on that. Anybody else can go. Then we'll go into closing.
Um, you mentioned uh, I think you mentioned the military at one point in there regarding inaction for. I'm trying to find the email because I'm still in the reserves, and a little while back they sent out an email. This is more of an informative comment than anything else, but and also a comment on one way you can step up. And my favorite sergeant. So there's I'm a my MOS is I'm a satellite communications systems operator maintainer, and my favorite sergeant is we'll call him Sergeant M, and he has the same job. He hasn't been in the unit as long as I have, but my favorite thing about him is he is not afraid to stand up for people. He is not afraid to give his opinion when his opinion might not be liked, and do what he feels is right. Um, oh, did I just find it? Okay, I don't know if I just found it or not. But anyways, they sent out an email essentially saying something along the lines of, and please don't quote me on this because it may be a little incorrect here or there, but I think it was
You're just being
related
recorded, so
to,
it doesn't matter.
yeah, that's true. Um, I believe it was related to gender identity. And they essentially said that anybody who chooses to, no, it was about transgender um, um,
It hit
Gender
words.
them the
dysphoria.
heaviest.
Gender
Yeah.
dysphoria.
Yeah.
Yes, gender dysphoria. And they said that anybody who had gender dysphoria and wanted to be transgender essentially could choose to be optionally discharged from the military, or essentially they were going to force it upon them. Um, and my favorite Sergeant M, because they sent this email out to the whole unit, and the only reason I know what he said is because he replied to everybody that the email was sent to, which was so funny and such a way to to be blunt, to flip off the decision. And um, he was all like, so according to these laws, and he brought up some like other laws and stuff, and then and he was essentially saying along the lines of like, this isn't right, and this is why. And then nobody got back to him, and I know that because I worked very closely with him during drill weekends. But it was just really cool to. I just wanted to bring that up because it was just really cool to see somebody that I looked up to um, do something so cool like that in that kind of situation, and like even at the risk of negative action.
All right.
One of the
Sorry, guys. We definitely go ahead and do yours, but then we're going to go ahead and go into closing. This has been amazing. But we try to keep it at about an hour, hour 15. We're at an hour and 30 right now. So, um,
oops.
It's all right. This is a this is a special episode. This is why we did it.
Mhm. The biggest phrase that comes to mind just in general throughout this entire thing is we're here, we're queer, and we're not going to disappear.
I love that. All right,
Not my phrase.
we're gonna go into closing. So I'll go ahead and start off with Kaylee. You have anything you want to say to our viewers or listeners?
I just want to say thank all of y'all for listening to this while we went on and hanging out while we got into all the nitty gritty in depth stuff. And I appreciate y'all's support, and I hope that this was helpful for y'all, whether you are a part of the community and needed support or you didn't know how to support.
Garrett.
Hi, it's Garrett. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. First of all, I think this is a really cool experience, and I learned some here and there, and I really hope that anybody who's listening today or tomorrow or any day in the future, because this episode shall go down in history. I hope that you learn something too. But if I was to say one thing that I think is super important here, in my opinion, that would be um, keep an open mind. You'll grow from it.
Lanika.
Yeah. As everyone said, thank you. Each segment could have been its own episode, honestly. So I understand how we went over, because there was still so much that could be said. But it's always appreciative that Troa is normalizing this, basically, right? By having this episode, by having people on, whether they are allies or in the community, and then you have where anyone is affected, because anyone who is, doesn't matter if they are LGBT or not, as you said, the normalization, they're human too. Everyone's going to have that mental health, will need mental health assistance at some stage time, I'm sure. But my thought kind of went a little ways with that, because it is getting late in the day and I haven't eaten. But I'll end it with, yeah, anyone, it can be an ally, anyone can be in the community, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you are there for whoever they are and that you are there for yourself. So
Chris.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about it, throughout this whole time, but another common thread is, everyone deserves dignity and respect, period. We're all here in Troa, especially, to build that connection. We come from different backgrounds. I mean, very different. I mean, there's a whole spectrum of personalities in our organization, and we can do that. We can hold different perspectives. We can, learn from different people's life experiences, but we all share the common need to belong. That's just a human need and a human right. And you can definitely find that here in Troa. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.
Yeah. This has definitely been an amazing conversation about, the LGBTQ plus community, mental health, everything that we're about. As we wrap up today's conversation, just remember this: everyone's story matters. Every struggle, every victory, every moment of doubt, every step towards healing deserves to be heard. Whether you're a part of the LGBTQ plus community, an ally, or someone trying to better understand another person's journey, I hope today's discussion for our listeners, reminded you that empathy costs nothing, but it can mean everything to anybody. No one should have to hide who they are. No one should have to carry their pain alone, and no one should ever be made to feel like they don't belong. I want to thank everybody, all of our special guests. Thank you for joining us on this special episode. If something that we discussed today resonated with you, share this episode with somebody who may need to hear it. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, keep showing compassion. And remember, we're changing lives one conversation, one story, and one whisper at a time. Have a good night with your host, Mark Peterson, signing out. Bye bye.
Hey, ya, shields in line, brothers, sisters, we bind with time, from hearth to hall, from field to